Thanks for joining us for Season 6 of the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders at Branded Strategic share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the Restaurant Guy.
And thank you for that kind, warm introduction, Jimmy. And to all those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. Together, we are the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, and capital. And we are super, super excited about this podcast, Jimmy. It's season 6. We had a great show. We had a great guest. But I got to tell you, I was out late last night, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I was out late, but I was working, because when I'm not working, I'm networking. You know that. So I'm out late last night, and I couldn't stop talking to people about one thing that was on my mind. They wanted to talk about a lot of different things. What whiskey am I drinking? Check out this tequila. Have a piece of this steak. All I could think about is the branded marketplace and the problems that marketplace is solving. And I got to tell you, people were excited. They're like, you know what? I don't want to talk about tequila. I don't want to talk about whiskey. Shatsy, what is this marketplace? I said, go to thebrandedmarketplace.com. Check it out. We're connecting operators with the best technology in the entire hospitality industry, Jimmy. Have you seen it?
I just can't get over what kind of dinner you must have been at last night when this was the topic that everyone wanted to talk about.
Oh, Jimmy, I was the middle. I was in the middle, and everyone's like, this guy is great. I love talking about e-commerce and technology. What an exciting guy, Shatsy. Well, listen, if you have a technology solution, if you have what you think every operator needs, just email us at marketplace@brandedstrategic.com, and we'll onboard you on. And you know what, Jimmy? You know what it costs for an operator? For a tech company to get on the marketplace?
What's it cost?
Nothing, Jimmy.
Nothing.
That's what's so beautiful about it. It's free.
Free. How do we make money?
Jimmy, I got to tell you, you're the finance guy, and you said, Shatsy, don't worry, it's volume, baby. And I said, all right, Jimmy, you say volume, I'm going with volume. You're finance guy. Anyway, check out the marketplace, Jimmy. Everyone, it's great. I love it. Jimmy, back to you. We got a great show. Let's go. Enough of the marketplace.
All right. Let's get into it. Let's get after it. All right. We are very excited for today's episode. Our guest, our friend, our partner, Mr. Scott Siegel, co-founder and CEO of Curbit. Scott, we appreciate you being here with us. We'd like you to take the lead, give us a little background on yourself, and of course, give us a little introduction to Curbit, please.
Yeah, well, guys, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here, even though we're on separate coasts.
It was like 4 a.m. out there?
I know, the little bag's below my eye, but no, it's 8 o'clock. I've got 2 young boys, so I don't sleep. So I'm not quite sure what time it is, actually.
Jimmy hasn't slept in years.
It works for me.
But no, it's a really exciting time for Curbit. Just a little background on myself. So born and raised here in Southern California. Like I said, I have 2 young boys, beautiful wife, Jordan. She's been the rock as I've tried to get this concept off the ground and to where we are today. I've got two co-founders, Aaron Werber, Kevin Pittick, and just a gladiator group of developers that have just work around the clock. And so things are really good. So Curbit is a SaaS solution.
Whoa, slow down. We're going to take a deep dive. Don't worry, we're going to ask you a lot of questions. We just want before we get into Curbit, we got to really get into who is Scott Siegel. What makes Scott Siegel, Mr. Southern California, LA guy, 2 kids and a beautiful wife, Jordan, what makes him tick? So how does a guy like you, and you're tan for all those watching, the guy is tan. He looks like a surfer dude from Southern California.
I am. I went yesterday.
When I met you, you're Mr. Commercial Real Estate Guy. How does Mr. Commercial Real Estate Guy, how does that lead you to hospitality and food service technology? That's what I want to know right now. How does a real estate guy get into this?
I call it crazy, call it high tolerance for pain. But so my background, I started in commercial real estate in the early 2000s, and I was representing restaurants, retailers, and, they were having problems as sort of the e-commerce world started to take off. People were getting food faster. The proliferation of drive-thrus started to take off. And many of the clients that I was representing,
and you were representing the landlords, or you're finding locations for like restaurant owners and stuff. Which one?
Restaurant owners, yeah, okay. Yeah. So there was this real sort of arms race to take down drive-thrus. As we know today, the volumes are considerable, and many of the clients I was representing were just having a really difficult time competing for that asset. And so it was always sort of in my mind. It's like, how can I help my clients, compete and sort of level the playing field? And, so fast forward to a dinner I had with Aaron Werber, who I mentioned is one of the co-founders, and our wives were talking, and, they were saying, we all have young kids, and it's like, is there anywhere else to get food for my kids besides driving through a drive-thru? I mean, it's McDonald's, it's Burger King, it's Jack in the Box. Why aren't there other options, for the masses?
Those are all delicious. Am I right?
Nothing wrong. I know we have a lot of listeners here, and nothing against. Yeah, I love my Big Mac and and Whopper. But again, it was like, where's the variety? How can we make it easy? And it was like, light bulb. I had this for years. It was like, how do I help my clients help them compete? And now all of a sudden you have this, like, the consumer side. It's like, there's the problem. And as we were sitting at dinner, it was just like, that my mind was racing. It was like I was thinking about all the challenges with curbside pickup. You've got dedicated parking spaces. There's all this negotiation around getting the spaces. And it was like, why can't a car just arrive in a parking lot, show up, and have somebody walk food out to their car in less than 2 minutes? And as I was sitting there at dinner, I'm like, I don't see any reason why this can't happen. So it was a really poignant moment for me, because I had been, sort of in the corporate grind. I was living a very comfortable life. And it was like, I've had this sort of like burning desire to address a problem and help sort of the industry. And it was like, it was a light bulb moment for me. And it was sort of now or never, once you start having kids and, you kind of go into that next phase of life. It's like, you have an idea, and it's either you act on it or you bury it. And so I acted, and the next morning I called my friend, my old next door neighbor, Kevin Pittick, who you guys know. He is.
Yeah, Kevin's great. I didn't know he was your neighbor, though.
We were next door neighbors. So Kevin and I live next door.
Why did you call Kevin? I mean, why didn't you call somebody else? Why your neighbor Kevin? What's he bringing to the table?
You've met Kevin before. Kevin is one of the smartest people on the planet. I will put him up against anybody. So Kevin, he went to Stanford. We actually call, many of the conversations we have when, we go out to dinner, and Kevin would start explaining things at a level that you're like, whoa, how did this guy weave this whole thing together? And it's like, we just called it Stanford because, he could figure it out. And so, so that was sort of like hey, I'm at the top of the double black diamond, and we're either going to go down the hill and go for this thing or move on. And so we took the dive. And
all right, let me jump in here a little bit. I love the Curbit story. I want to move this a little forward. What I love about Curbit, it's full of grit and resilience and the ability to adapt. While Curbit, in its current state, as you said, is a software solution. I know the idea behind Curbit was originally as an app. Can you share, a little more about what originally led you to develop Curbit? I mean, we're in a unique environment now where off-premise, breaking the four walls, the dining outside the four walls is just critically important. And the branded team we think pickup and takeaway is just going to continue to be a critical component of the business. Can you share the original idea of the development of Curbit?
Sure. Yeah. So obviously we're in unprecedented times. I mean, the sort of the behavior of the consumer is a lot different than it was pre-pandemic. So the sort of the genesis of Curbit occurred before the pandemic. A lot of people think, wow, you guys just, you came up, the timing's so great, with what's happening and sort of this demand for curbside. And so, this was in 2019 is when the company formed. I had these restaurant relationships. In particular, was one with Dunkin' Donuts. So I had a really good relationship. Aaron Almond Porter, if you're listening.
Am I right? Great coffee.
It's great coffee, and it's dangerous. There's the donut factor is the problem. No,
you just coffee. Don't get the donuts. You can't. You won't keep your girlish figure.
I know. You know the owner, and next thing you know, you're walking out with a dozen donuts, and fortunately, the kids love them, and we figure that part out. But yeah, like I said, we had a really good relationship with the largest franchisee in California, Aaron Amanpour, and with, as you guys know, restaurants, it's very fragile. The consumer, their guest, it's everything. You can't just all of a sudden go to a restaurant and say, hey, I have this idea, and I want to implement it in your kitchen and test it out and so on. There's a real fragility there. And so for us, we knew the only way we could sort of penetrate the idea was we had to sort of create a sidecar ordering experience for the guest vis-a-vis an app. And so, ultimately sort of our vision is that we would have this great curbside experience where the guest shows up, food's walking out, everyone's using it. We take it all the way up the ladder to Dunkin' and happily ever after. And so, we get into that sort of the realistic hurdles we got, had to go through in a second. But so we had to develop an app, and by developing an app, we had to originate the order. And then more importantly, we had to orchestrate the arrival. And when I talk about orchestrating the arrival, that is the core of the problem that the industry is facing. They call it the last mile. It's like, how do you get somebody from a house?
It's the last yard or the last foot. It's not the mile. Because when I'm walking a bag with my burgers, I mean, it's literally right there. Not a mile. It's a foot.
Exactly. And the expectation is for the consumer is, I want fresh food. And it's a real problem. If you're going to put this service out there where you're going to take orders online, there's an expectation that, hey, when I arrive, I want fresh food. And if you don't get it, and if you're waiting a long time, then all that money, all that investment that you've made in getting the guest there, it's just it's on thin ice. And so
that's why we love Curbit, man. You are solving for this problem. So let me ask you this. I love the name Curbit. I love it. Well, obviously, it sounds like Curbit, Curbside. It sounds like that's where you got the name from. Is it the obvious? I got the name because Curbit and Curbside. Is that it, or is there something more to the story?
Well, yeah. So we didn't have the cachet of being the restaurant guys or the finance guys. Nobody knew who Scott and Kevin were, and Aaron when we were starting.
We did. Jimmy and I knew you.
Oh, you guys knew it. It was in the universe, and so we had to come up with a name that had some cachet that people could associate with sort of the experience. And so what better name than, hey, I want to go on Curbit. Curbside, Curbit, it has that sort of correlation to the experience.
Sounds like Kermit.
Kermit, exactly. So if you've seen our logo, we needed to come up with the logo at the time.
So that's that's Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog, yeah. And we didn't want to make it too close to Kermit because there's IP stuff.
Disney owns them today. You get sued. I don't know who owns them, but Disney. I don't know who it is. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I love it. Well, there you go. So Curbit, Curbside, Kermit the Frog. There you go. I love it. And now I understand the whole logo thing. Thank you for clearing that up for me and everybody and the other 4 listeners.
I said it before, and I'll say it as often as people let me. Brandon subscribes to the theory that the pandemic has changed nothing, but it has accelerated everything. I don't think there's a greater example of that than the adoption of curbside pickup and takeout. How has this accelerated Curbit's growth?
Well, there's just the sheer awareness, and what we saw in March of 2020 was sort of this rush to everyone out needed curbside, whether it was people calling when you got there to alert the store when you arrived or texting. There was a lot of solutions that didn't necessarily sync with the operations between the 4 walls, and so when we talk about when we were an app, we recognized that early on that for us to be successful, we need to actually be in the kitchen. We need to be observing 100% of the orders, so the the store not only knows when the guest is arriving, but what's happening in the kitchen. And so it really forced us as we observe sort of like the demand in the end, it's like, I want fresh food and I don't want to wait. And the only way you're going to do that is to give the guest an experience where they are connected to their order. And so we saw that, and we essentially developed this capability, and now we're a software solution. And as we sit here today, I mean, the demand for what we are delivering and the capabilities that we have to create this elevated experience is, there is no better place.
I want to interject with one quick thing here. And
Jimmy,
Scott,
you haven't had a quick interjection in 25 years.
Oh, yeah.
I promise to make it quick.
Mine went somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it. Mine did too. To Scott's point, at Branded, we love boasting and bragging and trying to be ambassadors for our partner companies and for companies we believe are doing good things for the industry. They like to say that only death and taxes is certainty. So far, on our introductions, of which Shatsy does a tremendous job, I think you're batting 1,000. Anytime Shatsy mentions Curbit,
Jimmy.
Well, you're one for one. You're doing great. You're doing great.
I'm kidding. No. I'm kidding. Finish it. I'm kidding, Jimmy.
Oh, it's been amazing to watch, because sometimes you make a suggestion, you say, oh, I really like this. It's like, I don't care. At Curbit, you're batting 1,000. There is no one that we've mentioned Curbit to that hasn't said, I need to be put in touch with these guys because I need to improve my pickup and delivery. So I think one of the fun things for Branded is that, I mean, I shouldn't say this because you may not think we're working so hard, but you're really easy to boast and brag about, because it's what you do is what they need, and what a nice situation that is. All right, there's my quick thought.
It's a good segue, because I got to tell you, Jimmy, I actually had some. I put a study up on LinkedIn just recently, and it ranked the top solutions from a customer's perspective. What do they want? What are they looking for? And the second highest ranking solution that they wanted, it was the pickup ability. It was the ability to get my food or whatever I'm picking up, groceries, whatever it is, very, like, when I pull in, I want what I ordered and I want it now. And that was the number one thing. So I think Curbit is solving for that. Scott, let me ask you something. What can you share on the customer perspective of curbside pickup? It seems to me like you saw it a little bit before the pandemic, but now, I mean, it just seems like it's never going away. People love to pull into the Best Buy parking lot, the Target, the Walmart, the restaurant. They just love to pull in and boom, it's there, right there.
They want to. They absolutely want to, and that's the expectation. When you order on Amazon and a package shows up, 2 hours later, or your grocery store show up at your front door, that's the expectation that the consumer has. And when they order from a restaurant, they don't know about the tech problems and all the challenges that these restaurants are going through. If you put curbside up on your website or your app and you say that's an option, it's like, I expect it to be easy, and I expect to pick up my food on time, and I don't want to wait. And if you don't have that experience, then the offering falls on its face. And that's why largely Curbside has, to date, is it doesn't contemplate all the pieces that are happening in the kitchen, and the guest, you're basically getting a quote time at checkout, and it's a Hail Mary to get there on time. And it's like, that's not how it should be.
I see a lot of restaurants, they have like a phone number when you pull into the parking lot, like a phone number, call us when you arrive, and then no one answers the phone.
Well, yeah, and that brings up, it's like you got the labor problem here too.
The whole thing is
if you do it right, if in between your four walls, there's a timing solution where no matter how you order, whether it's curbside, whether it's in-store pickup, whether you're sitting at your table, if food is coming out on time and it's fresh, then there's an efficiency. If there's not, if I have to call a store, if I have to go in and I get my food, I have to go in the lobby, all this stuff that, the labor is fragile right now. And if your staff is stretched thin and they're having to interact with guests for no reason, then it just creates havoc. It creates chaos. And we come in, we put the steamroller over all that and make it smooth and easy.
No, I want to stay on the topic of the guest and what they're thinking. Schatz brought up his LinkedIn study. I'm going to bring up one of our other partner companies, Mr. Zach Oates, CEO and founder of Ovation. This is a guest feedback and customer engagement platform. Zach shared with us that his data shows that the single biggest guest complaint across the board is order timing. I mean, again, I was surprised it was number one, but it was number two on Shatzy's list, number one on Zach Oates' list, and Zach's got the customer engagement.
No, my list, loyalty was the number one thing people want, and second was the curbside experience.
Oh, in that case, this segment's sponsored by our friends at Spengo, loyalty. There you go. All right,
100%. Thank you for putting that in there, Jimmy.
Yeah, this must. But in all seriousness, Scott, the fact that this is what guests are talking about, and complaining about must be music to your ears, because you are able to specifically address that. Can you share now how Curbit is solving the timing problem?
We make it easy, yeah. And so we use. This is going to sound technical.
Don't tell too many secrets. Don't give away all the trade secrets, Bubby.
I don't want to make it. I don't want this to fly over your head, guys. But what we do is we take the signals coming out of the KDS. So every restaurant, when you're cooking food,
that's a kitchen display system.
There you go. And we ingest it. So we bring those signals into our cloud, and we use machine learning and a whole variety of other data models to basically take all those everything that's happening in real time, and we communicate that to the guest. So you check out from your favorite restaurant and you order curbside, you click a link, and it's gonna be a guided journey from checkout to handoff. So we manage that arrival expectation. And as things change in the kitchen, as it gets busier, as it gets slower, we manage the guest arrival experience. So we're going to update you. And then subsequent orders, if you're coming behind it and all of a sudden a bus shows up with 50 people, we're going to create the expectation down the line in real time. And so, you bring up the stuff with Ovation. You mentioned loyalty. All this stuff, it's all intertwined. If I have a crappy pickup experience, I'm not going to return. But if all of a sudden it's seamless, it's smooth, it's easy, it's frictionless, I'm going to come back. And that really sort of points to, what we are about. We're really, we're a curbside, we're a takeout solution, but we really are, we're a loyalty. It is about creating an experience that the guest wants to return more frequently.
Hey, you mentioned KDS, and I said that's the kitchen display system. For all those restaurant operators out there very familiar, that's what it is. It's a screen where you can bump all the food and kind of keep track of where everything is and the ticket times and things like that. You guys have a really great, strong relationship with a tech company that's been around the hospitality space for a long time. Love hearing about tech companies working together, especially when you get like an old legacy like QSR Automation, which has been around a long time making KDSs for the fast food restaurants and fast casual restaurants for years. But they're the leader in KDS displays. How's that partnership going? And give us a little sense of your relationship with QSR Automation, old company out of Kentucky.
Yeah, they're fantastic. So for this experience to work, for curbside to work, for the in-store pickup, everything it relies on the signals coming out of the kitchen. So obviously, if you have a receipt, if the cook's working off a receipt, there's no technology behind that. So I would encourage all the operators that are on the grill tickets, if they want to sort of move into the times that we're in and to really give their guests this opportunity to experience first class takeout. Get yourself a KDS system, talk to QSR. There's others out there, but QSR, they call it the Cadillac of kitchen display systems, and what that really means is
Cadillac still really good, or is it
Mercedes now? What I mean, Tesla. Sorry,
I feel like Cadu has lost a little bit of its cachet from the '80s when Jimmy and I thought the Fleetwood Brougham was the car.
Don't disrespect that saying. It's still the Cadillac. It's the Cadillac.
You still say Cadillac?
Yeah, it's the Cadillac. I know what you mean. It's the Cadillac.
I don't think the young people know. They're like, a Cadillac? What the hell's a Cadillac, Dad?
Yeah, come on, man.
Tesla, yeah. Oh, it's a Tesla. Oh, it must be very good. Anyway,
the QSR, the QSR is, there's so much rich data that comes out of a KDS system, and QSR in particular. They are most prevalent in the high volume restaurants that, if you think about a Cheesecake Factory or some of these other brands where there's a lot of volume going through. And the irony is if the more volume that there is in the restaurant, the bigger the takeout challenge is, because all those guests coming in off premise, they're just hinging on a quote time. And if the quote time's inaccurate, they're gonna show up and pick up cold food or wait longer than necessary. So we take all that horsepower that the QSR system in particular can create for the dine-in experience, and we're basically moving that off premise. And ultimately, we hope to do that for all the systems that are out there. But we love our guys out there in Kentucky.
I got to tell you, I learned something today. I learned that forever and going forward, when I hear Kentucky, I'm going to think two things: bourbon and QSR automation. QSR automation, give us a call. We love drinking bourbon from Kentucky. I want to learn more about QSR automation. Well done. Listen,
those meetings out there are pretty tough. Yeah, you got sitting at the table.
Listen, before we move on, I have a few more data points I'd like to bring up. Another recent study, and just highlighting what's going on in the food service space, COVID-19 and the future of commerce, found that 87% of customers want restaurants to continue to offer curbside pickup after the pandemic is over. Okay, 87%. And this report found that 75% of consumers who subscribe to multiple delivery services say they will continue opting for curbside delivery. So, Scott, for any operators out there who haven't yet implemented a curbside program, what advice do you have for them?
By the way, I just wanted to add from my notes here, that report came from Curbit.
There you go.
Full transparency. Scott wrote that report.
Yeah, right.
And it wasn't a report; it was a tweet. But anyway,
it was a tweet from Scott at Curbit.
There you go. Yeah, no conflicts of interest there. No. If you're going to do anything in between the four walls, if you're going to offer an experience for your guests, it's got to work, okay? And there's all these statistics that are out there. Everyone wants curbside. And you know what? If you're a brand that has great food and great marketing that's going to get you to your app to make you click the curbside button, you're going to get somebody to try your curbside. But if it doesn't work, then you're going to get out of your car and you're going to walk in and you're going to pick it up in store. And that's not hospitality. Hospitality is, it's treating your guests, every guest, like they're a VIP. And what better experience is there than to show up, not have to call, not have to find a dedicated parking space, literally just show up, and like a drive-thru, somebody hands food in your window and you drive away. And that's the sort of experience that those 87%, that's what they want. And that's when they're going to come back again and again and again. And by doing that, by creating that sort of efficiency, now all of a sudden, if you've got guests in store that are dining in, you move all that traffic out into the parking lot in a way that can be managed and sequenced. Your in-store guests are going to be happier. Your staff is certainly going to be happier. They're not going to be trying to find somebody in a parking lot or answering phones. It has a macro efficiency to it, and I really strongly urge all the operators out there to think really hard about how they are administering their curbside and their
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. It turns out while we started this podcast, is we enjoy talking to people and having our partners and industry folks on. We also learned along the way that our guests sometimes have questions for us. So let's kick off talking back. Scott, we're going to give you a chance to ask us a question. Nothing is off the table. I always feel that's a risky statement, but so far we've been okay. But Scott, microphone's yours, my friend.
Well, I could see you guys. I know you're in New York, and I could see you're in a high rise. Are you guys taking elevators, or are you walking upstairs?
Jimmy walks.
That's the question. Okay, we take an elevator. Elevator. That was
right. That was fantastic. I mean, talk about talking back. And listen, let me tell you something. That's
you guys are so sleek and svelte. I'm like, what is like?
We walk, baby. We walk. We're on the 87th floor of a high rise in Midtown Manhattan. Jimmy and I walk. I got to tell you, it only takes 45 minutes to walk.
And by 87th floor of a high rise in Midtown Manhattan, Schatzy meant the 4th floor of a building down on Park South. That's what
I got to tell you. Listen, let me talk to you about something that's really, really important. And this is that hospitality has always been a little behind when it comes to technology. Am I right? It's always been a little behind when it comes to technology. So this segment that we've got right now, Scott, it's really called What Came First, okay? Because sometimes we always get, everyone makes fun of us that we were slow to embrace technology. Sometimes when you go back into history, you realize hospitality actually was a cutting edge. Maybe we just lost our way. So I'm going to ask you, what came first? The hospitality cash register or the retail store cash register?
Oh, wow. Good question. I'm going to say the hospitality cash register.
I'm going to pose the same question to Mr. Jimmy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking NCR, 100-something-year-old company. I'm gonna agree with Scott and say the hospitality register came first, and I'm also gonna flag that Chatsy, you got the new segment, and you can't even get the freaking name of the segment right. Which came first? But all right, I'm going with hospitality too.
Okay, which came first, the hospitality cash register or the retail cash register? Well, listen, guys, the hospitality cash register. The hospitality cash register first, 1879. James Ritty, bar owner, saloon owner, Dayton, Ohio, invented it. You know what, Jimmy? You'll appreciate this. Ritty was tired of having bartenders as his partners, stealing all the money. So he invented the register as part of an effort to stop or at least keep the money in his pocket. And Jimmy, you were spot on, because guess what? He sold his company. You know what it became? National Cash Register, NCR.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding,
wow.
ding,
Wow.
ding. And today, NCR, as we know, are entrenched in hospitality with the Aloha POS. A lot of people know it as the ATM, giving them cash. So thank you to Mr. James Ritty back in 1879. I think actually Mr. Ritty, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's our guest next week on the podcast. We're excited to have him. I think he's 187 at this point, but still kicking it. So we're super excited.
Has a bartender ever stolen anything since Mr. Ritty came up with the cash register?
No. Once Mr. Ritty in 1879 installed the first register, theft in bars went to zero.
There it is. Yep, it solved that problem.
They give away cocktails now, but no cash is.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ritty. Listen, it's time for our crystal ball moment. A chance for our guests to put on their Kreskin and Miss Cleo hat and predict the future. Scott, how do you see restaurants and dining 2 years from now in relation to hospitality and technology?
Oh, it's a great question. I really think that there's going to be a line. There's going to be a line between the dine-in experience and takeout. And I think, when you look at and going back to the commercial real estate days, when you look at, underutilized space and you think about the parking lot, I really see that area being the focal point of takeout, and whether it's curbside or retail or whatever, it's just, I could really see that sort of evolution of the parking lot where food's coming out and people aren't even walking into stores anymore, and it could be an automated car. Who knows?
I feel like that was almost like a Butabi brother moment. Like the club, let's make the outside of the club, make the inside look like the outside, because the cool people hang outside.
Everyone hangs in the parking lot, smokes butts.
We're all
sits on the hood of their car and drinks beers.
And now we're getting food, and we're doing it more efficiently. Thanks.
So I pull in. I got a
action.
6-pack. I got a pack of butts, a 6-pack of beer, and they bring me some burgers, and I sit in the parking lot. I love it. I agree.
Imagine you go, hey guys, let's go Curbit, and all of a sudden they got the beers coming out of the grocery store, the burgers coming out, and you're just.
I am thinking the coolest place for a bar mitzvah is the parking lot of a Burger King. Jimmy, I'm loving this for Sylvie. I'm loving this for her bat mitzvah. We just do a whole Curbit, and everyone comes in. They order from Curbit, immediately get their little hot dogs, and whatever the sushi, whatever else they're doing. Anyway, listen.
L'chaim, Mazel Tov.
L'chaim.
Yes.
All right.
Brandon Quickfire, best segment.
This
is the one. What's that?
We're not. Are we done now? Is that it? Are we over?
Oh no, Jimmy.
Hey,
listen.
Anything left of the show? Are we
just the greatest segment of all time?
Yes, of course.
All right, Scott. Let's go to the best segment of the entire Hospitality Hangout podcast. We get thousands and thousands of letters each and every day. It's almost like Santa Claus. It's unbelievable. Everyone's like, Schatz, we love the Quickfire. Maybe you should have your own reality show just called the Shatsy Quickfire. We don't know, but there's a lot there. Netflix is calling me to do my own Netflix-branded Quickfire segment.
What,
a lot of things going on here.
Am I Garfunkel in this relationship now? Did you just turn me into Garfunkel?
Oh, no. And Jimmy, you'll be in there, too. You'll be in there, too. It'll be the Jimmy Shatsy-branded Quickfire Netflix reality show. I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right. Favorite all-time movie?
Fletch.
Ooh, I love
Fletch. Good one.
Where are you getting dinner from tonight?
I'm getting dinner from probably the microwave.
Oh, I love that place. Delicious. What is your favorite food city in the world?
Food city? I would say I'm a seafood guy, so I would say I don't know if it's
Detroit.
Koipu, Hawaii.
Nice. Detroit is great seafood, Jimmy. Favorite place to travel?
Anywhere with a beach.
Nice.
All right, here we go. If you were to challenge Jimmy or I to a game of Coke or Pepsi, talking bar mitzvahs, who would you have better odds of beating?
Oh, I would say I can't go Shatsy. I would say Jimmy. Too much the energy. I think you would fizzle out.
Yeah, I had Jimmy at CES. They dropped us off at the convention center and the wrong end of the convention center. We need to be on like the west side of the convention center. And I had Jimmy walk. It was like a 4.5 mile walk with his bag. He was panting. I'm like, Jimmy, I swear we're almost there. So yeah, I agree. You know, Coke and Pepsi. I think I got you. I think
you know what? I'll accept that. And I think Shatsy, you're very wiry. You're wiry, Shatsy. Yes.
And I would pull that chair away and move things around. Yeah.
But I see Coke and Pepsi being akin to Simon Says, and Shatsy, your attention deficit disorder and your inability to stay focused. I got to tell you, I might be less wiry than you, but I will pay attention, and I will.
What?
Yeah,
you still here? You still here,
Wait,
Shatsy? There you go. Perfect. Exactly. But I respect the answer. And Shatsy, I got to tell you, season 6, you're off to a hell of a start with 2 wins in question 5 of the Quickfire. So well played. Well done. Scott, I respect the answer. Listen, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the podcast and for sharing all your great insights. We really do appreciate what you and Curbit is doing to support the industry. And you're really in the right place, the right time. And I know there was nothing accidental about that. You were planning, you were seeing the importance of pickup, and then the pandemic just accelerated everything. If you want to get in touch with Scott directly, you can email the Branded team at podcast@brandedstrategic.com. We'd be happy to make an introduction to Scott. And again, we really think he and his company are doing some important things for the industry. Highly encourage operators.
Hey, you know what else, Jimmy? Scott, what's the URL? How do I check out the website?
Okay, this is a tough one. So it's Curbit.com.
Wow. All right, so go check out Curbit.com, guys, and that's it. Also, you can get in touch with Scott and his team. And if you're a restaurant operator and you're looking for a solution for curbside, just get Curbit.com immediately.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, to our listeners, as always, we want to thank you for taking the time to tune in with us. We know there are literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and the fact that you choose to hang with us and continue to subscribe is something we greatly appreciate. Join us next time as we welcome our friend, the dynamic Nabil Alamgir, co-founder and CEO at Lunchbox. It's going to be a great one. And finally, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on any exciting guests coming up in the future. So listen, until then, this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, signing off, passing it back to my partner, Shatsy. And with appreciation to Scott. Thank you, man.
Yes. Hey, thanks, Jimmy. And this is Shatsy, a.k.a. the restaurant guy, signing off Hospitality Hangout. Scott, thank you. Love what you're doing in the space. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.